This morning, the bill ordering the Justice Department to release its files on sex offender Jeffrey Epstein will soon be on President Trump's desk after the House passed the bill nearly unanimously.
The yeas are 427, the nays are 1.
Only one lawmaker voted no, Republican Clay Higgins, who voiced concern about the privacy of the victims and people mentioned in the files who have not been criminally implicated. Higgins writing, if enacted in its current form, this type of broad reveal of criminal investigative files released to a rabid media will absolutely result in innocent people being hurt. As that vote unfolded, survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse watching from above, celebrating. The Senate then approving the measure almost instantly.
Without objection, so ordered.
The Senate has now passed.
President Trump had fought for weeks to prevent a vote on releasing the files.
All right, you need to stop what you're doing and pay attention, because Trump's worst nightmare just became reality. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not being dramatic. This is actually happening right now. The bill that Trump has been dreading for years, the one that could expose connections between powerful people and Jeffrey Epstein, is sitting on his desk at this very moment. And he's got days to make a decision that could either destroy his presidency or make him look like he's covering up for pedophiles. Those are his options. Welcome to Trump's nightmare. Congress just passed the Epstein Files Release Bill with numbers so overwhelming that Trump literally cannot stop it. 427 to 1 in the House. Read that again. 427 to 1. That's not a vote. That's a total annihilation of Trump's position. And then the Senate, they passed it unanimously. Every single senator voted yes. Democrats and Republicans holding hands and singing Kumbaya about releasing the Epstein files. When was the last time you saw that kind of unity in Washington? Never. That's when. But before we go any further, real quick, let's be honest. You can't really trust mainstream media anymore. That's why we built Pump Politics, to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, join our free newsletter. We'll send the news straight to your inbox every day. Just click the link in the description to join. And if you just want to support what we're doing, join us, be part of the community that actually cares about the truth. All right, let's get back to the video.
Mr. President, why wait for Congress to release the Epstein files? Why not just do it now?
You know, it's not the question that I mind, it's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. You start off with a man who's highly respected, asking him a horrible, insubordinate, and just a terrible question. And you could even ask that same exact question nicely. You're all psyched, or somebody psychs you over at ABC, they're going to psych it. You're a terrible person and a terrible reporter. As far as the Epstein files is, I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert. But I guess I turned out to be right. But you know.
And now Trump's trapped. The bill is on his desk. He's got until the end of the month to either sign it or veto it. And both options are absolutely terrible for him. If he signs it, the files come out within 30 days, and we all get to see who was connected to Jeffrey Epstein. And Trump's name is definitely going to be in there somewhere. Maybe not in a criminal way, but his friendship with Epstein is documented. The photos exist, the quotes exist, the connections are real. But if Trump vetoes it, oh man, if he vetoes it, he might as well pack his bags and move to Mar-a-Lago permanently, because Congress will override his veto faster than you can say cover up, and Trump will look guilty as hell, like he's personally trying to protect predators and criminals. So yeah, Trump's completely screwed either way. And the best part, he did this to himself. For months, Trump fought against releasing these files. He called it a witch hunt. He said it was a Democrat problem designed to embarrass Bill Clinton and other liberals. He acted like Republicans had nothing to worry about, so why should he support this? But here's what Trump didn't count on: his own party turning on him. Because Republicans looked at this situation and realized something important. If there are Republicans named in those Epstein files, better to get it over with now and deal with the fallout than to keep fighting and look like they're covering something up. And if the files mostly implicate Democrats, even better. That's political gold for the next election. So Republicans joined Democrats in this historic vote, and Trump got left holding the bag. No support from his own party. No way to stop it. Just complete and total defeat. And that's when Trump did what Trump always does. When he's losing, he pretended like he was winning all along. On November 18th, just hours before the vote, Trump suddenly changed his tune. He told reporters, "We're not hiding anything. If Congress wants transparency, they'll get it." As if this was his idea all along. As if he hadn't spent months fighting against this exact outcome. But nobody's buying it. Everyone can see what happened. Trump got backed into a corner with no escape, So he tried to spin it like he chose to be there. Classic Trump move. But it's not working this time. The timeline is too clear. The reversal is too obvious. Trump fought this bill until the moment he realized he couldn't win. Then suddenly he's all for transparency. Yeah, okay. But here's what makes this situation truly explosive. And this is what nobody in the mainstream media is really emphasizing yet. This bill doesn't just say release some files or release redacted files or release files after careful government review. It says release everything within 30 days of Trump's signature. Everything. Every document the FBI collected during their Epstein investigation. Every court record. Every witness statement. Every flight log showing who visited Epstein's private island. Every financial record showing how money moved through his operation. All of it. And the Justice Department can only redact information for two reasons: protecting ongoing criminal investigations or protecting the identity of victims who want to remain anonymous. That's it. They cannot redact information because it's embarrassing to powerful people. They cannot hide names because someone's reputation might get damaged. The bill explicitly forbids that kind of protection for the elite. So when these files drop, and they will drop within the next month or so, we're going to see everything. Every name, every connection, every piece of evidence that's been hidden from the public for 6 years. And there are going to be names in there that shock people. Politicians from both parties, billionaires, celebrities, people you thought you could trust, people whose careers will be over the moment their connection to Epstein becomes public. And Trump knows this. He knows what's coming. He knows his name is going to be mentioned, and he's terrified. You can see it in how he's handled this. The initial resistance, the desperate attempts to frame it as a partisan issue, the last-minute reversal when he realized he couldn't win. This is a man who knows something bad is about to happen and can't stop it. And honestly, after years of Trump acting like he's above the law, like the rules don't apply to him, it's kind of satisfying to watch him squirm. But this is bigger than Trump. This is about whether America is a country where powerful people can commit or enable horrific crimes and face no consequences. And we're about to find out. Okay, so let's talk about how we got to this absolutely insane moment, because the Epstein story has been building for years and most people only know bits and pieces of it. So let me give you the full picture. Jeffrey Epstein was a billionaire financier who ran a sex trafficking operation for at least 2 decades. He recruited underage girls, many of them from poor families, many of them troubled or vulnerable, and he groomed them to provide sexual services to his wealthy and powerful friends. He had multiple properties set up specifically for this purpose: his Manhattan townhouse, his massive Palm Beach mansion, his ranch in New Mexico, and most infamously, his private island in the Caribbean that locals literally called Pedophile Island. This wasn't some small-time operation. This was sophisticated, organized, and protected by Epstein's wealth and connections. And the connections are what make this story so explosive. Epstein knew everyone: presidents, princes, tech billionaires, Hollywood celebrities, scientists, academics. If you were rich and powerful, chances are you knew Jeffrey Epstein or had at least crossed paths with him at some point. Now, knowing Epstein doesn't automatically make you guilty of his crimes. Lots of people knew him socially without knowing what he was really doing. But here's the thing. A lot of people did know what he was doing, and some of them participated, and some of them looked the other way because Epstein was useful to them. He threw great parties, he donated to their causes, he connected them with other powerful people. So they ignored the obvious red flags and the rumors about underage girls because it was more convenient to not ask questions. Trump was one of those people. Back in the 1990s and early 2000s, Trump and Epstein were friends. They partied together. They were photographed together multiple times. In a 2002 New York Magazine article, Trump called Epstein a terrific guy and said, "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. Many of them are on the younger side." Trump said that out loud to a reporter. In 2002, now Trump has since claimed he had a falling out with Epstein years ago and banned him from Mar-a-Lago. And there's no evidence that Trump participated in Epstein's crimes. No accusers have named Trump. No flight logs show him going to the island. But the friendship was real. The connection existed. And Trump knows that when these files come out, that connection is going to be documented in detail. But Trump's not the only one who should be nervous. Bill Clinton flew on Epstein's private jet, nicknamed the Lolita Express, at least 26 times, according to flight logs. Clinton claims he never went to the island and never knew about Epstein's crimes. But 26 flights is a lot. And some of those flights included trips to Africa and Asia, where Clinton was supposedly doing humanitarian work. But why was he flying on a convicted sex offender's private plane to do humanitarian work? That's a question a lot of people want answered. Then there's Prince Andrew. He's already been publicly accused by Virginia Giuffre of sexually assaulting her when she was 17 at one of Epstein's properties. Andrew settled that lawsuit out of court for an undisclosed amount, reportedly around $12 million. He claims he's innocent and only settled to avoid further embarrassment to the royal family. But come on, innocent people don't pay $12 million to make accusations go away? And those are just the names we already know about. The files that are about to be released could contain dozens or even hundreds of additional names. People who've never been publicly connected to Epstein before, people who thought they were safe because they kept a low profile, people who maybe attended a few parties or took a few flights but assumed nobody would ever find out. They're all about to be exposed, and that's why this vote was so historic, because Congress just decided that protecting the powerful is less important than getting justice for the victims and transparency for the public. That's huge. That almost never happens. Usually the system protects itself. Usually powerful people close ranks and make sure their friends don't face consequences. But this time, the public pressure was too intense. The survivors were too organized. The evidence was too damning, and Congress had no choice but to act. Now let's talk about what this bill actually requires, because the details matter. Within 30 days of Trump signing, and he will sign it because vetoing would be political suicide, the Justice Department must release all documents related to their Jeffrey Epstein investigation. All documents. That includes FBI investigation files, which contain witness statements, surveillance reports, evidence collected from Epstein's properties, and financial records showing how Epstein moved money around. It includes court records from both Epstein's 2008 case in Florida and his 2019 federal case in New York. It includes depositions from civil lawsuits filed by Epstein's victims. It includes the famous flight logs showing who traveled on Epstein's planes and when. It includes everything the government knows about Jeffrey Epstein and his operation. But here's the key part that has powerful people terrified. The bill strictly limits what can be redacted. The Justice Department can only black out information if releasing it would compromise an ongoing criminal investigation, or if it would reveal the identity of a victim who wants to remain anonymous. That's it. Those are the only two acceptable reasons for redaction. The bill explicitly states that information cannot be withheld due to embarrassment, reputational harm, or political sensitivity. Read that again. They cannot protect powerful people's reputations. If someone's name is in those files, if there's evidence they participated in or knew about Epstein's crimes, that information has to be released. No more hiding behind executive privilege or national security claims. No more sealing records to protect the powerful. Everything comes out, and that's revolutionary. Because for decades, the government has used classification and redaction as tools to protect the elite from embarrassment. Oh, we can't release that information because it's classified. Translation? It would make someone important look bad. Oh, we can't unseal those court records because of privacy concerns. Translation? A rich person paid a lot of money to keep them sealed. But this bill says no more of that. Justice and transparency matter more than protecting powerful people's reputations. That's a fundamental shift in how the government operates. And if it actually happens, if the files actually get released without being heavily redacted, it could set a precedent that changes everything going forward. Now, Trump's position on all this has been fascinating to watch evolve in real time. Initially, he was opposed to releasing the files. He framed it as a Democrat issue, claimed that Democrats were pushing for the release because they knew it would mostly hurt Republicans and Trump associates. He suggested that the real targets were people in his orbit, and that Democrats were just trying to score political points. But that narrative fell apart pretty quickly, because Democrats weren't the only ones pushing for release. Republicans started signing on too. Survivor advocates who don't care about partisan politics, they just want justice, were lobbying everyone, and the public support was overwhelming. Polls showed that more than 70% of Americans wanted the files released regardless of who it might implicate. So Trump found himself increasingly isolated. His own party was abandoning him on this issue. The public was against him. Even some of his closest allies were saying, look, if we've got nothing to hide, why not just release them? And Trump realized he was fighting a losing battle. So on November 18th, the same day Congress was scheduled to vote, Trump suddenly reversed course. He told reporters that Republicans should support transparency and that he had nothing to hide. He tried to make it sound like releasing the files was his idea all along, but the timeline makes it clear what really happened. Trump fought this until the moment he realized Congress had the votes to pass it with or without his support. Then he tried to get out in front of the story and pretend like he wanted this all along. It's classic Trump damage control, and it's not working. Then, because here's what everyone understands, Trump is terrified of what's in those files. Not necessarily because he did anything criminal, but because his connection to Epstein is well documented and deeply embarrassing for someone who spent years positioning himself as tough on crime and protective of children. Trump knows that when these files come out, there will be photos of him with Epstein. There will be quotes about their friendship. There might be witness statements placing Trump at parties where questionable things happened. And even if Trump never participated in anything illegal, the optics are terrible. The connection alone is enough to damage him politically, especially with his base, many of whom have bought into conspiracy theories about Democratic elites running pedophile rings. How's Trump going to explain his friendship with an actual convicted pedophile to those supporters? So yeah, Trump's in a bad position, and it's only going to get worse when the files actually drop, which should happen within the next 30 to 40 days. All right, let's break down what happens next and why this matters so much for Trump's presidency and for American politics generally. Because we're not just talking about one scandal or one news cycle. We're talking about a potential earthquake that could reshape the political landscape for years to come. First, the immediate timeline. Trump's got until the end of November to sign or veto this bill. Technically, he has 10 days from when it hits his desk, but realistically, he needs to act much faster than that. Every day he delays makes him look more nervous, more guilty, more like he's trying to figure out a way around this. So expect Trump to sign the bill within the next few days, possibly even by the time you're watching this video. He'll probably issue some statement about how he's always supported transparency and accountability. He'll try to spin it as a victory somehow, but everyone will see through it. Once Trump signs, the Justice Department has 30 days to compile and release the documents. Now, 30 days is actually pretty tight for a project this massive. We're talking about potentially thousands of pages, spanning multiple investigations over more than a decade. FBI files, court records, depositions, financial documents, flight logs, photos. All of it needs to be reviewed and properly redacted where legally required, but only where legally required, which is the key difference here. In the past, government agencies would take years to release documents like this, claiming they needed time to review everything carefully. And then when they finally released them, huge sections would be blacked out for vague reasons like national security or executive privilege. But this bill doesn't give them that option. 30 days, limited redactions, no excuses. So what can we actually expect to see in these files? Based on what's already been released through various court cases and investigations, we know a few things. The files will contain a list of everyone who visited Epstein's properties or flew on his planes. Flight logs have already been partially released, and they include names like Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, and numerous other celebrities and politicians. But the full logs, showing every single person who ever set foot on the Lolita Express or visited the island, those haven't been released yet. We'll probably see them now. The files will also contain witness statements from Epstein's victims describing what happened to them and who participated. Some of these statements have come out through civil lawsuits, but many haven't been made public yet. We could see dozens of new accusations against powerful men who've never been publicly connected to Epstein before. The files will contain financial records showing how Epstein funded his operation and moved money around. This is potentially huge because it could reveal whether Epstein was blackmailing people, whether he was paying off victims or their families, whether other people were funding his operation. Financial records can tell you a lot about who knew what and when. The files will also likely contain communications, emails, text messages, letters between Epstein and various associates. These could be incredibly damaging because they might show powerful people explicitly discussing illegal activity or at minimum showing that they knew what Epstein was doing and didn't care. And finally, the files will probably contain photos and videos from Epstein's properties. Epstein reportedly had cameras installed throughout his homes and allegedly recorded his guests without their knowledge. Whether those recordings still exist and whether they'll be released is unclear. But if they are, it would be absolutely explosive. Now here's the big question. Will anyone actually face criminal charges based on what's in these files? Because that's what really matters, right? Transparency is great, but justice requires accountability. And the truth is, prosecuting cases based on these files is going to be really difficult. Most of the alleged crimes happened years ago, which means statute of limitations issues. Many victims might not want to go through the trauma of testifying in court again. And the men implicated have resources. They can hire the best lawyers, drag cases out for years, attack witnesses' credibility. So even if the files contain smoking gun evidence against powerful people, actually convicting them in court is a different story. But here's why this release still matters, even if no one gets criminally charged. It creates a historical record. It puts the truth out there for everyone to see, and it makes it impossible for these men to continue operating in positions of power and influence. If the files show that a politician participated in or knew about Epstein's crimes, that politician will face massive pressure to resign. If the files show that a CEO or billionaire was involved, their company's board will face pressure to remove them. If the files show that a celebrity was complicit, their career is effectively over. Public accountability can be just as powerful as criminal accountability in some ways. Look at what happened to Harvey Weinstein or Jeffrey Epstein himself. They faced public exposure and social consequences long before they faced criminal consequences. The court of public opinion matters, and these files are going to create a permanent record that follows these men for the rest of their lives. Now let's talk about the political implications, specifically for Trump. Even though there's no evidence Trump participated in Epstein's crimes, his documented friendship with Epstein is politically toxic. Trump's base includes a lot of people who believe in conspiracy theories about elite pedophile rings, QAnon believers, people who think Democrats are running child trafficking operations out of pizza parlors. How are those people going to react when they see documented evidence that Trump was friends with an actual convicted pedophile who ran an actual child trafficking operation? Some will probably perform mental gymnastics to excuse it. Oh, Trump didn't know what Epstein was doing. Trump cut ties with him years ago. Trump is actually fighting the pedophiles now. But some of Trump's supporters are going to have a really hard time reconciling his Epstein connection with the image they have of him as a crusader against elite corruption. And Trump's opponents are going to use this mercilessly. Every Democrat running against Trump or his allies will bring up the Epstein connection. Every attack ad will feature photos of Trump and Epstein together. Every debate will include questions about why Trump was friends with a pedophile. It's going to be brutal. And Trump doesn't have a good answer. He can't claim he didn't know Epstein. They were friends for 15 years. He can't claim he cut ties immediately. The friendship lasted well into the 2000s. All he can do is minimize, deflect, and hope people focus on Bill Clinton's connection instead of his. But that's not a winning strategy. This is going to haunt Trump for the rest of his political career. Every time he tries to position himself as tough on crime or protective of children, someone's going to bring up Jeffrey Epstein. And here's the broader significance of this moment. Congress just showed that it's possible to stand up to presidential power and demand accountability. Trump tried to stop this release. He used all his political capital and influence to fight it, and he lost. Badly. That's significant because it shows that even in our current polarized political environment, there are still issues that can unite both parties against presidential overreach. It shows that public pressure still matters. It shows that survivors organizing and demanding justice can actually achieve results. And it sets a precedent for future transparency fights. If Congress can force the release of the Epstein files over presidential objections, what else can they force the executive branch to release? What other secrets might finally see the light of day? So, yeah, Trump's nightmare is just beginning. He's got days to sign a bill he desperately didn't want to sign. Then he's got a month to wait while the Justice Department compiles files that will almost certainly damage him politically. Then he's got to deal with the fallout when those files become public and everyone sees his connection to Jeffrey Epstein, documented in detail, and there's nothing he can do to stop it. Congress made sure of that with their overwhelming vote. This is accountability in action. This is democracy working the way it's supposed to. And Trump is absolutely terrified, as he should be, because the truth is about to come out. And when it does, a lot of powerful people, Trump included, are going to wish they'd supported transparency from the beginning instead of fighting it until they had no choice. The files are coming, and there's no stopping them now.